And welcome back to There's Always Next Year podcast. I'm your host, Mike Metcalf, along with my co-host, Adam O'Neill, and we're here for a good time on this Monday, February 6th. So strap up. Let's get her going.
Strap up. Not strap in, strap up.
Better than strap on.
I feel like it's the same. Aren't you strapping up? You're strap on?
Not today.
Not ever. Ah! All right. So we're off to the races. Hello, everyone.
Blessings.
Thank you for that introduction. It's a big week.
It's a big week.
It's a big week in Kansas City. It's a big week throughout America. It's a big week in Glendale, Arizona, and in the entire Phoenix area, for that matter. It's Super Bowl week. It's Waste Management Open week. It's a crazy week for the state of Arizona and for everybody. And there's an exciting Super Bowl matchup coming about.
Your Kansas City Chiefs against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's rad.
Right. So, some people's Kansas City Chiefs, not my Kansas City Chiefs.
My Kansas City Chiefs.
But obviously a lot of excitement surrounding the big game on Sunday. The Chiefs made a couple of roster moves within the last 36 hours or so regarding the wide receiver situation.
Yep. They brought Clyde Edwards-Helaire back too.
They brought CEH back, and we now can maybe potentially assume that this is that we've seen the last of Mecole Hardman in a Chiefs uniform.
Well, yes. I think you can assume that. I think he's going to probably be moving on to somewhere else next year, whether that's on a one-year deal so he can try and prove himself after this big injury that he had this past year, or not. I think he's going to get decent money. He's a decent wide receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. And he can do returns, too.
Yeah, he can.
He did returns early in his career.
Yeah. But, I mean, digging into the Super Bowl a little bit, I mean, I got a couple things I want to talk about. Is the Eagles' defense really that good? I know their stat line is showing that they're pretty darn good, but
I don't think we have too many case studies to...
Who have they played?
Well, they haven't... I would agree with you that the caliber of team that they have seen on a consistent basis, which was my concern early in the season with them, I agree with you. The caliber of team that they've seen on a consistent basis is not as good as what the Chiefs have seen. The Chiefs have seen... The Chiefs' defense has certainly seen tougher offenses,
right?
Than the Eagles' defense has seen as far as offenses. Now, the Eagles' defense has been pretty consistent. That being said, they haven't really had too many off games. Granted, the strength of schedule isn't as good as Kansas City had, but they've been pretty consistent.
They've been consistent, but like I said, I don't think they've played, like you said, the caliber of defense, or caliber of offense the Chiefs have played. You look at their games throughout the season. I mean, they're in the NFC East, so they're playing Daniel Jones twice. Count the playoffs, played Daniel Jones 3 times. They hit the 49ers in the playoffs in the last week, and they're playing Josh Jackson, their 4th string backup quarterback. Whereas the Chiefs have had to face
Josh Johnson.
Sorry, the Chiefs had to face a Justin Herbert. The Chiefs have had to face a Josh Allen. The Chiefs have had to face a Joe Burrow twice. Like, the Chiefs have constantly dealt with these high-powered quarterbacks, and I just haven't seen the Eagles deal with that throughout their year. Now, they did play Aaron Rodgers, but we know how up and down the Packers were this year. They did play some of their teams. Jared Goff had a really good season with Detroit. They played Detroit, but I mean, you look at that game, Jared Goff put up 35 points on him. Aaron Rodgers put up 33 points. Dak Prescott, when he played, put up 40 points against him. So you look at those consistencies of when they do play good quarterbacks, they're putting up points. Now, the Eagles offense was able to come back on that and win 2 out of 3 of those games because they are also able to put up points, but it just seems like their defense maybe is a little overrated. They're always playing with the lead, so they're pinning their ears back. They're going after the quarterback. The opposing team is always trying to throw the ball. And so that's why their sacks, I think, have been inflated throughout the year. And I'm just real curious to see how they do playing against the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes.
I'm curious about that, too. That being said, the one thing to remember with at least 2 of those 3 teams that you mentioned is those teams, they've got decent quarterbacks, but the other difference is they have strong running games. You're talking
correct.
about the Cowboys and the Lions are the two specifically that I'm referencing there. Not as much the Packers. The Packers offense was pretty meh this year, top to bottom.
Yeah.
But as far as both the Cowboys and the Lions, they have more dynamic offense as far as, you know, being able to run versus pass the ball. They have two really strong, each of those teams have very strong running backs within their scheme. I don't think the Chiefs are as gifted at that position as either Dallas or Detroit is. So,
Right.
So as far as the point scoring, that would be the one thing that I would bring into that. But again, you know, these two teams, it's exciting because there hasn't been a lot of crossover in the teams that have seen these two teams this year.
Correct. Yeah.
Often you see a lot of that crossover throughout the season just due to the top teams playing the top teams. But there really hasn't been a whole lot of crossover between who these teams have seen. And the Eagles, again, the thing that I've got to go with, and this is just my personal opinion, the Eagles have just been, they've consistently found a way to win. They have kept themselves in a position to be the one seed in the NFC despite losing Jalen Hurts for a little while.
Right.
They put themselves in a good enough position early on in the season that even though they were down Jalen Hurts, I don't know, what was it, 3-4 weeks, something like that?
I think he missed 3. Yeah.
They were able to continue to stay atop that conference because of the position they'd put themselves in. I know they didn't win out during the time that Jalen Hurts was gone, but they were able to keep themselves in the position where their destiny was kind of in their own hands.
If I had to ask you, between the Chiefs defense and the Philadelphia defense, obviously the Philadelphia has put up better numbers than them. How many more points throughout the regular season do you think the Eagles defense has given up, or do you think the Chiefs defense has given up as opposed to the Eagles? I think this number is going to actually surprise you quite a bit.
Well, I'll be honest with you. When you quoted how many points they'd given up against those three teams, that was a little bit surprising to me. So I'm guessing that statistic is closer than I would have guessed. But I don't know off the top of my head.
25 points.
25 points difference.
Yeah, only a 25-point difference.
So that's, you know, an average margin of victory. That's probably 3, maybe 4 games.
Yeah.
So that's a decent difference in point differential. When you're comparing the two top teams, you know, at the end of the day, these are the two best teams in the NFL.
Correct. And I see that, and I see your point 100% there. It's just when you look at the caliber of teams that Chiefs have played throughout their regular season against the caliber of teams that the Eagles have played, I feel like that 25 points gets minimized a little bit more because
potentially
just because of the star powers of the quarterbacks that the Chiefs have played against what the Eagles have had to go up against.
Right.
I just have a feeling we're going to see Mahomes ball out and be the superstar that he is, and I think they're going to win by 7 to 10 points.
7 to 10 points. So give me a score prediction.
28-21 Chiefs.
28-21 Chiefs. Okay. I am going to say I think the Chiefs are going to win. I think the script has it that the Chiefs, this is their year to win.
Is that what the script says?
I think it does.
Yeah.
I really do think it does. I think, you know, Mahomes won it the first time that he went. And then there was that just awful, atrocious game against.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that.
Well, no, I'm not even bashing Mahomes. A lot of that was not on Mahomes.
Well,
Mahomes did his job that day. There were a lot of other people that didn't do their job.
Throwing balls when he was horizontal to the ground, trying to make some plays, and Tyreek Hill cannot catch a goddamn pass to save his freaking life.
But with that atrocious game that was played, it was just like, for me, not being a fan of either team.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it was just a lame ass game to watch. Like, not talking about who I was cheering for. It just wasn't an entertaining game. And when you pair it with the fact that it was kind of the new up and coming guy in Patrick Mahomes, who everyone was probably expecting to kind of do the changing of the guard in that game. And then we see Tom Brady rolling with it.
Do his thing.
To me, it was the least entertaining Super Bowl that I can remember seeing in a long time.
Right.
I think that the NFL wants to see Mahomes get his second ring. I think that it's the story. Like, again, they were a very strong contender from the beginning. I think the Eagles have been an exciting storyline, and I think they've built up that the Eagles are going to continue to be a contender in the future. This might not be the best Eagles team we ever see.
It might not.
If they continue to gear up, that team could get better. You know, they're going to continue to develop that chemistry in the locker room. They could go out and make some plays in the offseason. I don't know what their cap situation looks like, but I don't think they're overextended by any means.
They got a lot of people on rookie contracts.
A lot of people on rookie contracts.
But I also say, I mean, you talk about being scripted. There's no better way that the NFL could have scripted up these two teams going into the Super Bowl. I mean, you talk about the Kelsey Bowl, which you talked about a little bit last week. You talk about the whole Andy Reid situation, coaching out at Philadelphia, coaching out the Chiefs. But then one interesting thing that I ran across today was Nick Sirianni. Did you know he was the wide receivers coach for the Chiefs in 2012, and Andy Reid fired him when Andy Reid came in to take over at Kansas City?
No. I did not know that, but that's I had no idea about that. That's a fascinating storyline.
So there was an article on ESPN that basically said Sirianni was using that as some motivation as to try and motivate his team to play even better coming into this Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be a close game. Like I said, I
want to see a good game. At the end of the day, I'm not going to be upset regardless of who wins. I think both of these teams have earned their right to be here. They've played really well all year. And to me, in a good while, as long as I can remember, to me, these are the most deserving teams that have faced off against each other in a Super Bowl in a good while. So congrats to both Philly and Kansas City on that.
And they seem to be pretty even. Have you seen the stat where it's like they're got the same win-loss record throughout their regular season and postseason, same amount of points scored, same amount of, I mean, all of this stuff is adding up to be very interesting. However, got to be a homer a little bit here. Patrick Mahomes, best player, best quarterback.
You've already said all this. If you got something new to add to it, go ahead.
Well, I mean,
you're talking in circles at this point. We know you love Mahomes. We know you got the Chiefs by 7.
All right. Well, I don't need to add anything more to that. But I guess I was trying to ease my way into, like, Tom Brady just retired.
Correct.
So
to our knowledge, he is staying retired.
Yes.
He did his little beach retirement. He said, "I'm gonna get straight to the point."
Right.
And
it seems like, he's going to be retired. He's already got his deal with Fox where he's going to be an analyst / commentator for them.
Not until 2024, though.
Correct. 2024. He's going to take some time. He's going to figure it out. Maybe hang out with the family a little bit, do some things with his personal life, and then
maybe some business ventures.
Maybe. I don't know if we want to dig into that a little bit too much, but if
he's got some brief plans.
If you had to pick one quarterback that is going to maybe be able to match what Tom Brady has done throughout his amazing career, who would that quarterback be?
Oh, I think the natural pick is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
But that being said, I don't think, as far as the pace that Joe Burrow has set for himself early in his career, I don't think it's outlandish to say that he could be on a similar path as well. You know, we saw that Tom Brady was definitely overall the GOAT and is the GOAT up to this date. But it's not like that there weren't guys with him along the way that were really tough. You look at your Peyton Manning.
Yep.
You look at your Ben Roethlisberger. You know, these guys were consistently relevant. You know, Aaron Rodgers, Eli Manning. There were a number of guys that, you know, even Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers was always in the picture. You know, he didn't ever get to where he wanted to be, but he was never somebody that you could look at on paper and count him out either.
I guess my thing is you see the stats, you see the numbers that Tom Brady put up: 7 Super Bowl rings, multiple Super Bowl, five Super Bowl MVPs, multiple regular season MVPs.
We'll never see it again.
Yes, I agree with that. I think it was the longevity. I think the longevity of Tom Brady definitely made a big deal, and I think Mahomes could possibly do it. I just don't think he's going to play till he's 45.
And I agree with you. I'm not saying that he necessarily couldn't even keep himself in playing shape until he was 45.
Right.
You know, if he picked up a regimen like Brady had or something that worked for him.
Yeah.
But Brady got very lucky too. You know, he had a really good training regimen. But you also get lucky with not taking shots. Like Brady got lucky throughout his entire career with not having a lot of damaging injuries.
He only had one season where he was out. He got hurt in the first week and he was out, and Matt Castle had to come in and play for him. But like overall, Brady was healthy throughout his 23 years of playing in the NFL.
Right, which is unheard of.
Right.
That's unheard of. And it's just really tough. Even in a scripted NFL, it's tough to keep guys that healthy for that long.
It sure is.
But as far as, you know, this next generation of quarterbacks that we are fully in, you know, Tom's gone. Aaron Rodgers, we don't know what's happening with him, but honestly, I don't think it matters much. I really don't.
Yeah.
Matt Stafford, I think his career is
coming to a close here in the next year or two.
As you look, and we've talked about who this new generation of quarterback is. To me, when I look at it right now, there are two guys that stand out as and I would argue after this season, there are maybe three guys that stand out as the front runners to be the quarterbacks of this 2020 decade moving forward. And I think those are obvious. Well, I think two of them are obvious. I think Patrick Mahomes is obviously number one. Joe Burrow is number two. And I would say that maybe Jalen Hurts put himself in that category this year. Jalen Hurts has looked so good.
I would put Jalen Hurts in that category. Can he stay healthy, though? It seems like he takes some hits. He's more of an active running quarterback. So, as long as he can stay healthy, he's proven this year that he can be one of those top-tier quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, I feel like, is more in the pocket kind of passer.
He's
not going to take as many hits as long as his offensive line is good. Mahomes seems to just
that's been a big question. I mean, they went in and spent that money, and they didn't really fuel well out of the gate, and then they experienced a lot of injuries on the back half of the season. So Burrow, I mean, I don't think he got that O-line at their best for very long this season.
I don't think he did either.
So to me, that was a question mark going into this season. That'll be a question mark going into next season for them as well.
Speaking of question marks, going into the next season, Sean Payton and the Broncos.
Sean Payton. I'm fascinated by this. I was texting my buddy who's a lifelong diehard Broncos fan about this back end of last week. Actually, I talked to him on the phone briefly too. But if I'm the I've talked to a couple Broncos fans about this. If I'm the Broncos, I'm psyched. I don't think. As far as the coaching market goes, who better are you going to get right now if you're the Broncos? I know you don't like the Broncos. Take your bias aside.
I will.
Look at who better was available that they could have gotten besides Sean Payton.
I think if you're trying to build a team that's going to go up against the Chiefs, which they have to every year 2 times in the regular season, you take a guy from the Chiefs. You take Eric Bieniemy. You take a Mike Kafka. You take someone like that. Mike Kafka's been good with quarterbacks. I think he might be able to turn around Russell Wilson. I just don't see, I don't know, Sean Payton coming in. Sean Payton, while he's a good quarterback, and maybe he was the one that turned the New Orleans Saints around, he came in at the same time as Drew Brees. I would argue to say it was Drew Brees that turned the Saints around back when
I think it was both, but I mean, if I'm the Broncos right now, I think I would come up with mud on my face if I were to go get another head coach that's unproven after what happened with Hackett. He was the offensive mastermind too. You're talking about bringing an offensive mastermind. He was working with Aaron Rodgers. He was the OC up in Green Bay, and that was a dumpster fire. He didn't even make it through the season.
And while I get that,
they did that with Josh McDaniels before too, and that burned him.
I'm looking at Sean Payton's record. He's Mike McCarthy. He literally is Mike McCarthy. Let's see.
Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy have both won Super Bowls.
They both won 1 Super Bowl. But I just don't.
Compared to Kafka? Come on.
He's unproven. You never know what he can come in and do. And you wouldn't have to give up.
But you
wouldn't have to give up potential picks to get him and pay him as much as you're paying Sean Payton. So then you could have that money, and then you could pay other players instead of getting rid of Bradley Chubb and losing. Basically, you traded Bradley Chubb for Sean Payton, and I don't like that. They gave up the pick that they got for Bradley Chubb to get Sean Payton. They gave that pick to the Saints. And I think Bradley Chubb would be more helpful to the Broncos at this point in time than I think Sean Payton's going to be. And I think we'll see that next year.
I would argue that. But for me, the bigger thing is, and you got to keep in mind, I come from a mentality of a team that continues to do the same things over and over again and get burned by it.
Yeah.
If I'm a Broncos fan, I'm looking at on paper the last 2 head coaches that we've brought in that were unproven. It was Josh McDaniels and Nathaniel Hackett, and they've both been miserable failures. I would not be encouraged to bring in another offensive mastermind who hasn't proven himself at the head coaching level compared to somebody who's won a Super Bowl. And I'm not saying Sean Payton is the second coming of God as a coach. I'm saying what they had available in front of them to me, that's a win getting that hire.
He wasn't even their first pick, though, was he? They were looking at someone else.
So there was speculation surrounding that, and I saw different reports coming from different places. Supposedly, they were going after D'Amico Ryans, the guy that got hired by Houston. The Texans. And the report was that it wasn't until they realized that I saw one report that said that it wasn't until they realized that D'Amico Ryans was headed to Houston that they started lighting up Sean Payton. Sean Payton had said, I want to say a week prior to them announcing that he was getting traded, they were trading with the Saints to acquire the rights to him.
Okay.
I want to say he said he wasn't coming out of retirement. I want to say I'd seen a quote that said he has no plans to coach next year. 2024 was still up in the air.
Yeah.
But he had been quoted as saying he wasn't going to take the Cardinals job and he wasn't going to take the Broncos job, I believe. And then it was almost a little bit like the Deshaun Watson scenario, where there were all the rumors surrounding Deshaun making the visit to Cleveland, and then Deshaun comes out and says, I'm not going to Cleveland. And then 48 hours later, Deshaun's going to Cleveland.
Right.
It was kind of a similar situation as that. But, I think they've got a better chance to iron out that offense. I don't think the defense needs any work. So I think they do a pretty good job of drafting on defense. You look at Pat Surtain, you look at Bradley Chubb, you look at some of these guys that they've picked up, you look at Simmons. They've got a lot of young guys that they have drafted who have been really strong defensively for them.
So are you saying with the roster they have now, with the addition of Sean Payton, they can come in and they can compete with the Chiefs, compete with the Chargers, they can win an AFC West title with the roster they have now?
I'm not saying they can necessarily win an AFC title.
Because they don't have much draft picks the next 2 years.
No, but I think Sean Payton puts them in a better position. I think if they draft a little bit to shore up that O-line was a problem for them. They also get their starting running back that was out all of last year in Javonte Williams.
Okay.
You get back Tim Patrick at wide receiver, who was out all last year. You get back KJ Hamler, who was in and out for part of the year. You've got a really strong wide receiving core that can make most quarterbacks look better than they are. If Russell can fine-tune his stuff a little bit and that wide receiving core stays healthy, he will look better, and that offense will look better. Then you add in Javonte Williams as opposed to starting Melvin Gordon, who's going to fumble the ball on the one for you. That changes things too. That defense is good. That defense is there. They're a top 6 to 8 defense, I would say, pretty confidently.
The past 5 years, yeah. The defense has been good. It's been the offense that has been the issue, but I guess that comes back to my next question is Sean Payton going to take a step back, or is he going to go through some growing pains because he's been out the past couple of years? Like, how is that going to look? And
I think that's a fair question. You wonder, especially with those guys that are a little bit older, how they mold with the generation. As these players are staying young and these guys are getting older. You're bringing in these rookies every year. These rookies are always 21, 22 years old.
Yep.
You do wonder, I would say the same as something that's probably pretty curious for a guy like Bill Belichick right now. You wonder how these guys are resonating in the locker room. I saw some quote about Belichick that said that it was somebody trusted within the organization. They weren't named, but they said, I respect Coach Belichick a ton, but he fucked us this year. And I don't even know what it was specifically in reference to, but it was a quote that I saw. And I think, especially if these guys aren't still in the position where they really made the name for themselves, whether it's Bill Belichick having Tom Brady,
right?
Whether it's Sean Payton in New Orleans with Drew Brees. I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm not saying it's a sure lock that Sean Payton's going to turn this franchise around.
You just think he was the best decision at this point in time?
Best decision and the best option for them, and I think they did what they needed to get him.
And I think overall he's a good coach. He's going to be a good coach.
He can't be going paying players to injure others. He got himself in trouble for that once before. No bounty gate, but
I just don't. I don't like the way that they had to give up so much to get him. You don't have draft picks the next couple of years. Your cap space is taking a big hit because of how much you had to pay Russell Wilson. I mean, and how many draft picks you gave up for Russell Wilson along with Sean Payton. It just seems like they're setting themselves up to try and win now when I don't think they have the pieces to win right now.
Well, you look at after they made the Russell Wilson move, they have to put in the pieces to try to win now because they put all that money towards Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Just essentially as a franchise say, these next 4 years are a wash. We're going to wait it out until Russell dies.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that. Like
right.
there are way too high of expectations. And that franchise just got acquired by a new ownership group, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. They have the most money in the league. It's the people who own Walmart own the Broncos now. The Wallens, yeah.
So, and there were a number of other people, I believe, in the ownership group, too. I think like Lewis Hamilton was a part of the ownership group as well, the Formula One driver.
Money's not an issue for them, and I'm not worried about the money part. I'm worried about the draft picks part and being able to continue to bring in high-quality, top-end young players to your program, to your NFL team. And I just don't see the Broncos excelling here in the next couple of years with that. And so the amount of money they gave Russell Wilson, it just doesn't seem like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they're going to be able to compete with the Chiefs or the Chargers, for that matter, here in the next couple of years, which is what they need to be doing.
The Chargers are a question mark. We can't put any credibility on the Chargers. They've proven themselves over the last 2 to 3 years to consistently be a question mark.
Right.
So I'm not bunching them in with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are obviously the forefront of that division. I'm not putting any stake in the Chargers. I put stake into the Chargers this year, and I look stupid for it because they did what they've done the last 3 years. So
Chargers are going to Charger, but
as far as draft picks go, let's think about how many guys that the Broncos have drafted are currently starting for them. There's a lot.
Right. But you want to keep replenishing the pool. So
that's what I'm saying is they've proven the ability to draft successfully.
Yes.
So,
reasonably, but like I'm saying, these next 2 years, I don't know if they're going to be able to find that guy.
They don't have a bunch of first round picks, so no, they're not going to have a bunch of talent coming out of the first round picks. I would argue that they've proven the ability to draft well.
In the later rounds. Okay, yeah, I can see that.
So that's the reason I'm giving them benefit of the doubt is I'm looking at it on paper, and again, I've talked to a couple of my friends that are Broncos fans.
They're
pretty knowledgeable about. Well, they're stoked about Sean Payton. Oh my God, they are jacked. I've talked to 2 or 3 different people, and they are beside themselves with excitement. Which again, coming from the mentality of a fan of an organization that
just keeps doing the same thing over and over
stupid
again.
Things.
Yeah.
You want something to be hopeful
They're
about.
taking a shot. They
knew they wanted Sean Payton before he got announced. They knew that was the head coach they wanted. I talked to one of my buddies about it. He was like, I want Sean Payton. He's who I want. When they got him, that's a win. I know whenever I've wanted my guy, whether it wound up being a good hire or not, at the time I was psyched about it.
I can also tell you as a Chiefs fan, we were really excited when Todd Haley came out here, and that was a dumpster fire. So
I was really excited about Kevin Stefanski too, and that has disappointed me up to this point.
So I mean, all we can do is wait and see what happens.
I was really not excited about Deshaun Watson, so who knows? Yeah. Maybe that'll go the opposite direction.
No kidding.
But it'll be interesting to see. The Broncos, there's a lot of moving pieces, but I think the Broncos do have some good pieces. What I will say is this. I think the Broncos will be more competitive than they were this year. I think they will take a step forward. No, it's not a huge thing.
That's not hard to do, I feel like.
They're still in a really tough division.
Correct.
They're still in one of the toughest divisions in football and have to see a team that's consistently a Super Bowl contender twice a year.
Yeah.
So you're right. They're not going to, their strength of schedule outside of the AFC West probably isn't going to be anything to write home about playing the other third best teams.
Right.
But as far as the division, you're seeing Justin Herbert twice, and you're seeing Patrick Mahomes twice. I know that the Chargers are going to charger, but you're still seeing 2 pretty strong quarterbacks. And we don't know who they're going to see with Vegas either.
Well, also, since Mahomes has been the starting quarterback for the Chiefs, I think he's 11-0 against the Broncos. So that's all I'm saying is like they need to be able to compete with the Chiefs. Chargers are going to charger. Raiders we don't even know who their quarterback's going to be, but like you got to be able to compete with the Chiefs, and I just don't think they have the ability to do that this year, even with the addition of Sean Payton. We'll see what happens in the future, but I don't know.
Again, I'm not saying they win the division. You don't have to win the division. You got to get a wild card spot. You got to get yourself to the dance.
I would say you got to get like 9 or 10 wins. I don't know. I don't see them getting 9 or 10 wins.
Well, and again, might take 2 years. They've got Sean Payton for a while, and they've got Russell Wilson for a while. It's a process. They're not going to flip it around overnight.
2 of their best games were against the Chiefs this year.
They were, because they always play the Chiefs. They always bring it against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs still won those games.
Scary.
Yeah, the Chiefs have a tendency of making teams in their division that aren't very good look good. So that whole 11-0 that you're boasting about, they keep playing with fire. They're going to get burned with it, and he's not going to be undefeated anymore.
Keep trying, Broncos. Keep trying.
There's been a lot of, in recent years, I think we talked about back during baseball season, we talked about the closer for the Mets and his walkout music. Well, there must be something in the air out at Citi Field in New York, because I already kind of had a partial liking for my guy, Pete Alonso.
Yep.
The reason I call him my guy is because his rookie season, he won the home run derby.
Yes.
As a rookie. I think it was 2020.
Did he win like 2 years in a row too?
I want to say it was 2020. I think he did win it 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
I think you're right. No, I think it was 2021. 2000. Fuck, I don't know. Might have been 2020. Either way. No, it was 2019. Fuck, I'm done. I'm done trying to figure it out.
How many years are we gonna list?
I went to a Royals game with a few friends.
What year was it?
Some year when Pete Alonso was a rookie, and he tossed a ball as they were coming off the field. And we had really good seats for the game. They were like 3 rows behind the visiting dugout. It's a Saturday evening game, and I caught the ball that he tossed. It was a game ball. Like,
did you take your glove to the stadium, or did you just catch it with your bare hand?
I just caught it with my bare hand.
What a man.
What a man.
He was just tossing it. It wasn't like it came rocketed in or anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't off the bat. Like, it wasn't anything to write home about. I was sitting about 3 rows back, and he was running into the dugout. So it wasn't a huge, and it was before they had those
the netting.
It was before they had the 30
If he had
foot.
to throw it over the netting, I mean, that could have come down like a rocket on you.
Those guys do that now. They put it right over the netting.
Yeah.
But they know what they're doing. They get paid to throw baseballs for a living, so they've got a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of like I've liked Pete Alonso ever since then. So scrolling social media either yesterday or today, and they highlighted Pete Alonso's new walk-up music for the 2023 year. And I was enthused to see it. It's kind of become a theme song for us here.
Oh,
and
boy.
I just wanted to.
What is it? I feel like we're having some technical difficulties right now.
What are you doing?
Oh, there it is.
BK.
Have it your way.
So that is Mr. Pete Alonso's walk-up music for the 2023 year, from what I've read. I can only hope that he keeps it through for all 162 games. Hell, Pete, I want to see you in the playoffs just so I can hear that more. There's no way that we as Americans get incredibly tired of that not annoying at all jingle, and that it will still be just as exciting as Russell Wilson's Let's Ride.
He's getting paid for that, right?
I have no idea.
I think he has to be. I think they'd sue him otherwise.
Yeah, he's got to be.
They'd sue him. There's no way they'd sue him for that kind of brand recognition.
Yeah, they're going to be making money off of
New
that
York
no matter
City,
what.
They're not telling him no. They're showering him with Whoppers free of charge.
All he's got to do is walk into a Burger King, and he's getting like 3 Whoppers thrown in.
Better than I did. Sorry, Pete.
Well, he'd be an idiot if he's not getting paid for that.
That fair.
Yeah.
Speaking of
idiots.
Okay. Whoa.
Adam paused like he was scared to say it.
I was trying to find it. I don't know what I was trying to figure out.
But before we get to the idiot.
Jeez Louise.
We are pleased to announce our Mike's Dad Jokes segment sponsor for the week. We are sponsored by Travis Koppel and the Platinum Realty team, the Jenkins team. Travis is licensed in both Kansas City and Missouri, or Kansas and Missouri, excuse me. So anywhere in the Kansas City metro and beyond, he can help with your needs. He is specializing in first responders. He has a background as a first responder himself. So if you are a first responder looking to buy or sell your home in the Kansas or Missouri area, give him a shout. Best number to reach Matt is going to be 913-961-7110. And remember, no pressure, just results with the Jenkins team. So give them a shout, check in. If you need us to put in contact, we gotcha. But we are pleased to be having the Dad Joke segment sponsored by Travis and the Jenkins team. So give them a shout, check in with them. Travis is also really good about posting stuff on his social media page as far as new listings and exciting, cool homes that I personally can't afford. But if you can, absolutely go do it. I can't afford most homes. That doesn't say much about the homes he's posting. It just says more about me. That being said, I'm going to stop rambling. You can see how many times I've done these. Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Travis. Let's get some dad jokes going. What is more lives than a cat?
2 cats.
I mean, you're probably not
cats.
wrong there, but no, it's
4 cats.
just
5 cats.
It's just a frog because it croaks every day. Crickets.
6 cats.
Ribbit.
What do cows read the most?
Noticing a theme here.
I'm going to say the moose.
I'm going to say the movie times.
Nope, just the cattle logs and the moose paper.
Moose paper.
Matt was
That's
close.
points.
Matt was close.
That's points.
What?
How many points?
At least 100.
Hundy. Okay.
Out of 17,000.
Why do mushrooms get
here we go.
invited to all the parties?
Because they're all fun guys.
Yeah, they're just fun guys. They're going to get invited to all the parties because, you know what? Who doesn't want to be around a fun guy?
Was Mike a fun guy this past weekend?
Mike was a fun guy.
He wasn't asking you.
I was invited to all the parties.
Oh, man. Here we go.
Speaking of fun guys and speaking of fun gals, I think we got a super fan we got to talk about.
Yes. So we do. This, for those of you in Kansas City and maybe even beyond that have been following this storyline, I think it's awesome. As somebody who has sat in the cheap seats and done that whole thing for many years as a sports fan, as well as somebody who's smuggled a number of items into different sporting and live music events.
Were any of them metallic?
Metallic. That
Like,
means
did you
that means
really
to
have
be
to
made
hide
of that means to be made of metal.
Yeah.
Yes, I have smuggled a handful of a handful of items that have had some sort of metal consistency. They've usually got to be pretty small, but I've had some success with it.
Like a beer can?
No, I don't think I've ever done a beer can through like a metal detector or anything like that. I've gotten beer cans through when there wasn't a metal detector. But I think I've maybe gotten a flask through at one point, even with a metal detector.
Okay.
They probably make plastic flasks, right?
They
do.
make plastic
They do for
flasks,
sure.
and I remember like researching back in the day, there used to be like most of the little like pints that they would make. They would be plastic bottles, but they would have the metal lid.
Oh,
The screw-
like
the
the
screw
Fireball
off top.
plastic bottles with a metal lid on
So
top of it.
Fireball is actually one of the few that pretty much just does plastic with a lot of it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Fireball for a long time was my go-to. You won't catch me dead buying Fireball now, but
Is there a reason for that?
I think I just drank it too much and had
Yeah.
way too many nights where my mouth tasted like cinnamon the next morning, and I had
That'll
way too
happen.
many questions than answers.
That'll happen.
But I respect a person. I digress. I respect a person who makes a strong attempt to smuggle something they are looking forward to enjoying into a live event. And we talked about KC Potato Girl a few weeks ago after that divisional round.
What a name.
Against the Jaguars. And, the value of that whole interaction has just continued to pay dividends for this woman. She announced on her social media page today that she is headed to the Super Bowl, compliments of Lay's potato chips. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's amazing.
She wasn't even eating Lay's potato chips.
But she was eating a potato.
She was eating a potato. And she is going to the Super Bowl because she smuggled a baked potato into a Chiefs divisional playoff game.
And because a salty Jaguars fan was trying to
And
make
because
fun
a
of her.
salty Jaguar.
Yes.
Hey, you know what? It's karma. Like,
Jaguars fan, you're not going to the Super Bowl. Can tell you that.
Nope. Unlikely.
Also, it's even more crazy because I think when I last looked it up, the Super Bowl tickets are going for like $11,000 or something like that right now.
Is that for the cheapest one? They're going
I'm
for
pretty
11
sure
grand.
that might have been average, might have been cheapest. I'm not 100% sure.
I feel like that's probably average, but if that's the lowest ticket price, holy shit.
But that's crazy that, yeah.
But this is an exciting matchup, and you've got, Philly's fans, man. They're something else. Like, Chiefs fans are diehard, but Philly sports anything fans, doesn't matter what sport we're talking about.
Right.
They are just
Crazy.
something else.
They're freaking crazy.
Like,
They rioted the streets just for winning the NFC.
they rioted the
Yes.
streets. You always watch whenever they're doing anything big, they've got to grease up the light poles.
I was gonna say-
so people can't climb up them. They actively grease the light poles
Because people-
so their citizens cannot climb
Because
them.
people will climb them and try and tear the dang light poles down.
No, they
in
just
the
want to
city of
get up on
Philadelphia.
top of it and ride it. They don't care about that.
And then they fall off and hurt themselves.
Yeah. I don't blame them for greasing it. I don't want the job of greasing light poles either, personally. But, I mean, did we talk about that interaction that the Philly fans had with Nick Bosa? Or Joey Bosa?
I don't remember.
We did not.
Yeah.
Did either of you catch that clip?
Yeah.
Oh, man, they made him look stupid. So
What happened?
It was
Enlighten
right.
me.
It was right before the NFC Championship game, and he was standing with what I assume was the Bosa family and their close loved ones, getting ready to walk into the stadium. And somebody spotted him. I mean, he's a big guy. And he's got the long hair pulled back. He's a recognizable guy.
Right.
He's also known as a guy, and I learned, I've seen a couple clips this season, as somebody you can maybe get under their skin a little bit easier.
A little bit of crybaby,
than
maybe.
a lot of, yeah. I don't know about crybaby, just you can get under his skin.
Yeah.
Forgets to take a deep breath before responding.
Yeah. One of the Philly fans started chirping at him. He goes, "Why aren't you playing this weekend?" or something like that. Are you enjoying the game from the stands? And he was giving it to him. And again, as Philly fans do, and at first you just kind of see Bosa start oh yeah, kind of trying to play along for a second, and then you just kind of see a switch flip. And what did he say? He goes, "Oh, you taking a video of me? You're gonna show this to your butt buddy friends or something like."
Lord.
And they got him. They got him on camera saying it, and you just see him he keeps bashing him on it, and Bosa did not handle it well, and you just finally kind of see his family all right, let's go, Joey.
At least he didn't turn around and start hitting the guy, right?
I mean,
'Cause
that's a
that'd be
really
bad.
low bar to not assault somebody just because they say something to you.
What a silver lining, Mike.
I'm just trying to make.
Wow,
trying to
that's
find
really
the,
giving him a lot of credit for not being a complete and utter piece of shit.
because he's an NFL player, so
that doesn't mean he assaults people.
I never said that. I'm just
kinda
saying.
did.
I did not say that. I was just saying at least he freaking didn't do that.
At least he didn't
'Cause
attack
that could
the
have
guy.
been
You're right.
manslaughter.
Joey Bosa, you are a stand-up act for not murdering the guy for talking shit to you before the game in Philly.
To be fair, the fan was being an ass.
He was, but
Exactly.
you're in Philly. What do you expect? He's not getting a Walter Payton Man of the Year award for saying, "Oh, you're going to show this to your butt buddies." I don't think we should put him on a pedestal.
I'm not trying to put him on a pedestal. I'm just trying to say
He didn't assault
if
them.
someone, because you see this at Chiefs games a lot. If the opposing team is ribbing on us or we're ribbing on somebody else, there are fights that happen. So
Between fans.
correct.
Not pro football player.
He was just a fan at this point in time. He was just a fan in the stands.
We were only seeing one direction of the video. Is it possible there was evidence he had butt buddies like behind him that we couldn't see?
There could be butt buddies back there. You never know.
Maybe he wasn't even taking a shot at the guy. Maybe they were all wearing assless chaps.
Oh, boy. And here we go again.
I'm just saying, Joey Bosa kind of looked like a douche. From what I've seen, he kind of seems like a douche. I'm not putting him in Dick of the Week category yet, but he kind of seems like a douche.
Well, you know what another douchey thing is?
There's a lot of them.
This new, I don't know, sporting event.
Fighting category,
sporting
Entertainment
event.
segment.
Entertainment on TV, on TBS, Wednesday nights at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Power slapping.
Boy, are they paying you?
I
You really
wish.
gave the lowdown in promo there for it.
They should be paying me, honestly, but yeah, no, power slapping, guys.
just called
You
them all
guys
douches.
seen the stuff about power slapping? Basically, it's just two guys. Actually, girls do it too, where you
Nice.
just stand on the other side of a table and
Equality.
you just slap the shit out of each other.
it's like arm wrestling, but with slaps.
But you're slapping them. Let's play the video right now.
Maybe Joey Bosa should do that.
That's your measure.
Damn.
And he still landed clean.
Flinching! Blue!
With any new sport, you have to have rules. Here's how the rules for power slap are going to work. A coin toss before every fight determines who slaps first, and there's a maximum 3 rounds in a fight. In each round, the fighter will deliver an open hand slap to the opponent's face. At the
Slow-mo
start of
is
the round,
important.
the striker has 30 seconds to deliver the slap. When slapped, you have 30 seconds to recover and get back into fight position. It's the ultimate test of toughness.
The ultimate test of toughness, people.
During the fight, both fighters have to stand in their zone with their feet parallel to each other. The defender has to keep their shoulders square.
That guy looks
chin
like
up,
he's seen a
and
few.
both hands behind their back.
if one guy's the
striker has
defender,
rules
is the
too.
other guy the
Their feet have to
offender?
stay in
For
their
sure.
zone and always
I think they
touch
just call him the
floor.
slapper.
Before the strike, they have to tell
yes.
the ref which hand they're going to use and how many warm-ups they'll do, which are wind-ups.
Warm-ups.
Which are wind-ups.
I'm just going to hit you with a cup.
A legal slap is flat. Open-handed shot to the side of the face. On the cheek,
Damn.
below the eye, but above the chin.
So, I love that they
Can't
powder
lead with
up
the
like
palm
they're
of your hand
gymnasts.
either. The entire hand must land at
That's
the same
clubbing.
time.
That's illegal. That's flinching. That's also
The
illegal.
defender can't flinch. Raise their
Bitch.
shoulder or tuck their chin.
That's a warning.
Penalties range from warnings
Red.
It's like you just want to close your
point
eyes and take it,
deductions
right?
to
Yep.
disqualifications.
For sure.
If a match goes 3 rounds, the judges will render a decision based on typical boxing or MMA point systems.
Imagine going 3 rounds and taking 3 shots only for a judge to be like, yeah, you lose.
Right. So that was Dana White. He's been the head of UFC, but he's also starting this new power slapping sport. Like I said, you can watch it on TV every Wednesday night. So, I mean, if you are interested in watching people slap the crap out of each other, go give it a watch.
I'm not uninterested.
I would not be participating. I can
won't-
tell you that.
I won't be watching.
Oh, man.
But now it's time. Now it's time for the Dick of the Week segment, and I know we've
Dow.
The Dow, and I know we've fluctuated back and forth between individual and group efforts as far as Dick of the Week so far. This week, I can't even necessarily put a direct point on who I'm entirely calling out here. The purpose of this segment this week is to bring attention, to raise awareness. You know, we talk a lot about baseball and how it's dying and how it seems like everything that happens with baseball makes it less entertaining and losing shares of viewership comparatively to other professional sports.
Correct. Yep.
It's been a resounding theme for probably at least the last 15 years. And baseball has, at least in the past few years, began to try to make changes that make the games a little bit quicker, that maybe just engage a little bit more at some level. But I was looking at something, again, just scrolling social media over the last few days, and it kind of brought up a really interesting point. So with regard towards baseball and how it's been dying, there's been, trying to see your team.
Yes.
It's a pain in the ass to try to watch, even if you're in Kansas City trying to watch Royals games.
Well, I think I've complained about this on this podcast before, probably, 5-6 weeks ago, or whenever the Royals season was still going on.
So, Bally Sports is not carried on YouTube TV.
Correct.
MLB Network is now no longer carried on YouTube TV.
Well, it wouldn't even matter. You can't watch the Royals game on MLB Network anyway because they're all blacked out.
Okay.
If you're in the Kansas City area.
But now you can't watch.
But you can't even watch it on YouTube TV. Yeah.
For any of the Bally Sports affiliates, you can't, regardless of if you're in Kansas City, regardless if I'm watching a Bally Sports affiliate try to watch a Cleveland game from Kansas City.
Right.
I can't see it.
Jeez.
Now we can't see any game on MLB Network through YouTube TV. I'm curious, is it Hulu? I don't know what they're partnering with.
How are you supposed to watch a game? Unless you go to the stadium.
And apparently MLB TV, if you've got the subscription through them and you pay the $100 and some a year to have the full season subscription to MLB TV, apparently they black out regularly. Apparently
Yes.
you've got spotty issues with getting the games you want regularly. And MLB's sitting there like, well, why the hell can't we grow our fan base? Nobody could even watch the game. Even if, it's tough enough to get people to watch baseball games. You're killing America's pastime.
I agree.
You're killing it. And I don't know why it's so damn difficult to find some network. Bally acquired this from Fox Sports, 3-4 years ago now? Probably 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
I've always watched my teams on Fox Sports, whether it's Fox Sports Ohio,
Fox
for the
Sports
Browns,
Kansas City,
whether it's Fox Sports Midwest for the Blues.
for the Blues.
I've always been able to do that. I didn't have Fox Sports Ohio with my cable package as a kid, but I was able to track it down somewhere and watch games that I wanted to.
Right.
I got most of Fox Sports Midwest games. So whenever the Blues were on that, smooth sailing. For the last 2 or 3 years, it's been true for the Blues too. It's ever since I've seen the Bally name on it, the ability to watch my team's games has gone down significantly. And so maybe it's partially Bally Sports that I'm calling out. Maybe it's YouTube TV.
I think
maybe it's MLB TV
in general.
It sounds like MLB Network, MLB TV. You're fucking up. Get it together. Find some agreement with some network, some collaborative, so that baseball fans can continue to watch their games and you guys continue to have a paycheck.
So what I'll say is, first and foremost, I don't think we'll have to deal with Bally Sports much longer. From what I've heard,
They went into
they're
bankruptcy.
going into bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So
No
I
shit.
think that the MLB is going to have to find different markets to put those games on. What the MLB needs to do is take a book from the NFL. They need to learn how to get those games out on a mass production type scale so that everyone in the nation can watch those. Like, I know it's a whole different thing because the NFL only has 17 games per
So
year.
you got
and
prime time
it's-
versus 6 days a week.
and it's different, but like, people should be able to watch baseball games and not have to pay $30 a month just to watch their one team
I
that they
agree.
want to play.
Well,
or
I agree.
Want to watch.
I agree. And I almost hope that Fox goes back and acquires it from Bally. But
Even ESPN Plus, put it on ESPN Plus. That's easier to get than Bally.
That's still kind of a nightmare too. I don't want that either.
It's still easier. It would be easier than Bally. I've had
You've
ESPN
still got to
Plus.
pay to get it, don't you?
You do, but I want
it as part of a streaming service that you're getting your TV through. I don't want to have to go get ESPN
Okay.
Plus.
ESPN Plus, Disney
messed
Plus,
up
and Hulu are all connected to each other, so maybe it'd be Hulu then. I mean, but you...
Okay, that'd be fine.
Yeah, so maybe it'd be Hulu that you...
But I don't think up to this
together.
point with your standard Hulu, you're getting ESPN Plus.
No, you got to pay for the package, which is Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, and it's like $12.99 a month or something like that.
Okay.
But you get all three of those. And so, like, that's a decent deal. But when you had to pay for Bally and it was $30 a month just to watch the Royals games that I want to watch, that's a little bit ridiculous.
And the Royals were not good enough to pay $30 a month for this year.
No, they were not.
The Indians made the playoffs and they weren't good enough to pay $30 a month to watch.
Yeah, they were more fun to watch than the Royals, though. I'll tell you that. Otherwise, you got to go to a bar to watch a game.
Got to go to a bar to watch a game. And then, you know what? The game ends. You're still sitting at the bar. Wind up spending more money. And then you look over, there's a touch tunes. You start playing the touch tunes.
And then you end up spending probably more than $30 a month to watch your games. So.
Well, but you're playing the touch tunes. You're like, all right, you know, I got to get it going. Maybe you're playing a little Morgan Wallen.
Obviously.
And going on that, you know, looking forward to this upcoming year. We're getting word that, you know, Morgan Wallen did a really big album that was wildly successful a couple of years ago with the Dangerous double album.
Yep.
Even in wake of some personal stuff that was going on in his life that did not cast a great light on his name, that album stayed at the top of Billboard charts for months, breaking many records for country music as far as how many songs were on it, as far as how long the album as a whole stayed up there. It was an extremely successful album. And so naturally, you know, we've seen a number of Morgan Wallen collaborations with other artists on albums that other artists have released recently. And we know there's a few guys that he kind of hangs close to and continues to do little projects with and things like that. Sounds like maybe a few of them are going to be, he's got some new plans for a big project for this year. He's
got a new album coming out. He's going to have 36 songs on this new album. Basically, that's like 3 albums in one, it seems like. So
that's right.
Eric Church, Hardy, and Ernest are going to be collaborating with him on this album. It's going to be a banger. He's already put out 3 of those songs, and they're all really good. Would encourage you to go listen to them if you're a country music fan, Morgan Wallen fan, or just a music fan in general. So I'm really excited for this. I think it comes out on March 3rd. Is that when the whole entire album comes out?
That is a Friday. Our albums usually drop on Fridays.
Yeah.
He's already released 4, 5, 6 snippets from it. But I would imagine that it's going to be just a really huge production. And I know there have already been some tour dates that have been announced, I think.
Yeah.
And I anticipate there will be more. But yeah, if it's anything like that Dangerous double album,
I mean, it's going to be a banger.
There's going to be a lot of success surrounding it and a lot of hype surrounding it over the next month.
Oh, yeah.
But with that, we pivot. We already kind of finished the sports segment. We popped on a little music there. As we transition out of this football season and before baseball season, we'll probably be coming with a couple more non-sports topics. So as always, if you want to check in and hearing about anything, let us know. But as for now, it's time for Matt's Hostile Takeover.
All right, so you'd have to have your head buried in the sand, I think, not to see this, but we're going to talk about those god-dang Chinese spy balloons that have been floating over the U.S. and other parts of the world.
God dang.
And in case you did have your head buried, they were spotted, I think, well before in Canada airspace, through Alaska, down into Montana. But Montana is, when it reached Montana, that's when the U.S. issued a statement saying, here's what this is floating over the sky that you guys have noticed, and it's a Chinese spy balloon. They didn't say anything else but that. They directly called out China for spying. And, of course, what's every rural Montana's response to seeing a Chinese spy balloon in the sky?
Shoot that motherfucker down.
Hold my beer and get my gun. But funny enough, the U.S. said, it's too risky out in rural Montana to shoot it down. It could land on someone. All 10 people out there.
Rural Montana.
But Montana is an interesting location because that is where 3 nuclear silos are located.
It's also where Montucky Cold Snacks comes from.
Montucky Cold Snacks.
It is.
Cold and beer. Refreshing.
Delicious. Very yummy. So funny enough, it follows, if you guys ever watch any weather patterns, it just follows right across the United States. And sure enough, a couple of days later, it's showing up in Kansas City.
Yep. I heard it was in the northeast part of the city.
I saw a tweet from our governor, Laura Kelly, tweeting about it, saying they're working really hard with the feds on trying to figure out what to do about this thing.
Dude, I think every politician was on it and tweeting and trying to capitalize on agreeing with the American public, which was basically, what are we going to do about this thing? Why aren't we shooting it down? You know?
Exactly.
But it finally traveled all the way to the Carolinas, got to the coast, and then about 9 miles off the coast, where the water's about 47 feet deep, they shot it down and recovered it.
Did we find anything out after they recovered
tell us
it?
what they found?
We're never going to know. I think what's interesting is after the U.S. said it's a spy balloon, China said, no. It's a civilian airship.
They're just going for
What does that even mean?
It's a weather balloon. It's a weather balloon.
I would
man.
understand the weather balloon better than a civilian airship.
Civilian.
They just got a little bit off target, man.
Civilian meaning this is by no means a military operation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But, it's very strange. The U.S. later revealed that they had been jamming the balloon the entire time, preventing it from actually sending back any data.
Okay.
Of course, I don't know how they could know that
also,
their jamming was successful.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say, how do we know that
how
worked for sure?
But, I'm thinking like, what if China's figured out quantum entanglement already? And they can transmit information instantaneously without using radio frequencies.
It's very possible that they could figure that stuff out.
You knew when you said that I was just going to look at you with clueless eyes like, what the hell are you talking about?
Quantum entanglement, you somehow correlate 2 particles together so that they're entangled, and then you can separate them by space. But by observing one, you can obtain the state of the other.
Is this almost like transportation or like a teleportation?
It is teleportation of information.
There we go.
But what's the means that you actually do it by? Like what frequency?
Science fiction.
Okay. I was just making sure I wasn't missing it. Okay.
I was just providing a real example on how could you actually know they didn't transmit anything back.
All right.
Thought we were about to get into like Ant-Man and the Quantum Mania. That movie's coming out here sometime soon.
You guys were going to lose me pretty quick there.
But another interesting point is like they have satellites in space. We're not shooting down every satellite that flies over the United States. They fly over all the time. But this balloon.
I thought that was what Space Force was for.
Well, I think they're absolutely practicing and ready to shoot down satellites out of space. They're not doing that though.
I love the Space Force. I think it's so fun.
It's a real thing. You guys are laughing.
I know it's a real thing. It is a real thing.
But yeah, so the balloon gets to hover a little bit. And actually this balloon has capabilities of navigation by going up or down, and they can take air currents in whatever direction it wants. And it's theorized that the path they took, stopping over Montana and continuing on, was planned.
They're coming after Yellowstone.
John Dutton's not going to like that.
I can't believe they got past the state. Sorry, continue.
But another thing is like the U.S. opted not to shoot it down. So it's almost like they wanted to see what it did.
Can I just say, that seems really un-American of us to let this fucking thing just float and float and float all the way above the continental 48 United States, and be like,
Alaska,
and 49,
and Canada. Canada let it happen too.
That's not America.
That's not our purview. Canadians are considered much nicer people than we are. We're the rednecks that
The only
want to
thing
go out in the front yard and light that sumbitch up.
The only thing I can kind of decipher and maybe think about for this is maybe they thought there was like some anthrax in the balloon, and if we would shoot it down, anthrax would come down and kill us all, like something along some sort of biological warfare or something like that.
I love this speculation. This is
I like
good.
that.
I mean, you never know. Like what? Like yeah,
That's not the most outlandish thing I've heard.
Hey, just
It
saying.
just goes.
I did have
It's
the
like
thought,
those people getting slapped in the face. You just see the powder go everywhere right when they shoot it.
It's anthrax.
they're hitting us with the COVID 3.0.
That could be. COVID did come from China.
Okay. Speaking of China,
China.
allegedly this isn't even the first time this has happened. This is just the first time the United States government has publicly told us about it.
Well, because people could see it, right?
And did you guys see the photos of it? Like, it looks like a full moon practically in the sky.
Oh no, I haven't even
It
seen
was
it.
all white.
Yeah, and I'm
Surprised
wondering,
it wasn't all red.
I wonder if China got their moon calendar backwards or something. That they were always flying this over the United States during a new moon.
Ooh.
So when people saw
They
it in the
just thought it
sky,
was a
they thought,
moon.
"Oh, look at the moon." But then they did it on accident while it was a full moon, because it was a full moon over the past few days.
We got 2 moons up here.
Yeah,
what's
and now
happening?
The rednecks are going, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure school said there was only one of these.
Wait a minute.
Hold up. Where are you going here?
I've just got so many questions about like how this, like, honestly, I just want to say I'm disappointed in the American people. Like, that nobody went out in their front yard with a 12 gauge and brought this guy down.
I
Like,
guarantee you people shot at it.
Also, it probably is way too high up for a 12 gauge to
Way
hit.
too high.
You
50,000
probably need
feet.
a
is
sniper.
that what it was at? Was 50,000?
Probably
Yeah.
need a sniper rifle.
So
And
there
a
was no, like,
big one.
commercial airlines could just fly normally.
Right.
And they could, like, oh, there it is up there.
Yeah,
It's wild that people could even see it.
because it looks like a moon. It just looks like a small little moon thing.
No, it looked like a piece of shit.
It was pretty big. If you and we'll put pictures on the video, but like it looks like a big satellite, just with a big ass balloon behind it carrying it.
That's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know how. Why is China? Let's dig into this. Why is China trying to spy on us? They trying to start a war with us or what?
It's China.
They've already got photography on satellites. They've already got all of our personal information with the TikToks. I'm thinking like it's just got to be like some crazy ground penetrating radar or just like some
try
high
and find out
definition
where our
radar to map military establishments. Flew over Montana nuclear sites.
Yeah, nuclear
Flew over
sites.
Whiteman Air Force Base.
Yep, that was what. Yeah,
We're fucked.
Hopefully they don't got quantum entanglement and our jamming worked flawlessly.
hopefully we jammed them real good and they did not get no information from us.
Get jamming.
And that was my goddamn hostile takeover.
Hostile takeover.
All right, I reckon, old son. And with that, we bid you adieu. Episode 32, right out of the blue. It's something new. Now for you.
Boo.
I can't rhyme with that. So make sure you follow us on Instagram. There's always Next Year Pod, Twitter, TANY_pod, and Facebook. There's always Next Year Podcast. Also, we're on YouTube now, if you haven't noticed. So go check us out there as well. There's always Next Year Podcast. But until next time, don't forget, there's always next year.